Hi everybody, my name is Barry Schwartz and this is the Search Buzz video recap. Today is Friday, February 2nd, and this is the search news we covered over at the Search Engine Roundtable, seroundtable.com over the past week. First up, there may have been some more rumblings going on earlier in the week. It seemed to die down, so I'm not sure if it was an update. There's obviously updates happening all the time. Some of the tools have shown significant changes as well. Just for the past, 6 months to 12 months, it's just been constant fluctuations in the search results. At the same time, nothing massive like a Panda or Penguin update. In any event, thought I'd bring it to your attention. Definitely take a look at your search analytics and see what's going on over there. Danny Sullivan's first post in the official Google blog was about Featured Snippets, and it seemed like he wrote it at a Search Engine Land website. It was that detailed. It was Danny styled, and he actually did a lot of research and gave some more information about what Featured Snippets are about. You can definitely take a look at that. He covered things that we covered before, like suggested video clips, a bunch of the experiments that we covered before, calling them new mockups. One thing maybe we didn't cover before is having two feature snippets on the same page, offering different views. And he went through all the challenges around feature snippets being correct, issues with feature snippets they had in the past, how they're getting better, what they're using to improve it, and then how they work exactly in terms of why they might get things wrong, why they might get things right, why that is not always the right answer. And it was a really good blog post. Glad Danny Sullivan is still writing about search. And from inside Google, it actually makes a nice little difference there because usually those Google blog posts would be like a paragraph or two without much detail, and Danny would have to then go to Google and say, give me more information and write about it in Search Engine Land. Now he's doing it within search, and it's nice to see. There was a lot of confusion around the ranking versus indexing around different algorithm updates, and it's very important to understand the reason for that. First, we explained so Google came out with a page speed update, and people were like, well, if my page is so slow, will Google index it? And Google's like, what do you mean will we index it? It's not an indexing feature, it's a ranking feature. So only slow pages in our index will be demoted in the rankings. So the only way for a ranking algorithm to work is if the page is actually indexed in the first place. But the confusion comes in that, like, if I have really slow pages, maybe the quality metrics of what Google will actually index is also a factor. So Google's not going to bother indexing really slow pages because the quality factor is way too small. And that's not the case with at least this specific page speed algorithm. It's a ranking algorithm, and it determines what pages in Google's index, which they've already indexed, will be ranked. And I think that's the confusion here. And obviously there's these details and stuff like that. But it's one of those, like, you dig into it and you talk about these things, and it kind of like makes you go around in circles. But there really is no need for that. So glad that confusion is cleared up. So this is a good post. We've seen these kinds of concepts before, but ranking in Google by aligning your content around searcher intent as opposed to just keywords and so forth. And Justin Briggs, who's been in the SEO community for a while now, very long time, usually more on the techie side, went ahead and talked about this concept of looking at searcher intent, and their intent obviously changes over time, and kind of wrapping your content around your navigation and site architecture around those intent queries. Very interesting topic. We covered it before. I think Marcus Tober was probably one of the first people to actually go through this topic a couple of years ago, actually. Although I can't find his presentation on that, it was very interesting, and it's a good way to look at your content in general. Google said, what to do if your disavow file has maxed out. I don't know what that max number is. How many URLs can you post in your disavow file? I'm not sure. I guess I could test it. I never actually used a disavow file before. But basically, the person's asking, I maxed out my disavow file with old lists from 5 years ago. Could I go ahead and remove some of those? And is that going to hurt me? And of course, the answer is you could remove them. If you remove them, I don't know if they'll hurt you. It depends on if those links are still active or not. And John Mueller goes ahead and gives the answer that Matt Cutts would give 5 years ago, saying when you use the disavow file, don't do it on a URL by URL basis. Use a machete, like he said, and just go on the domain by domain basis. If you're not trusting a specific URL on a website, you probably don't trust the whole domain name. And that's why I have these Google guys with machetes. So that's where it came from, actually, from Matt Cutts saying that years ago. Google said you could target more than two or more keywords on a specific page for ranking. So the concept in SEO world has always been each page should, target its own unique search phrase and so forth. But the thing, one of the Googlers said, yeah, you can't. The question was asked, I want to target 2 keywords on a single page. This is a good idea, or should I create 2 different pages to target both? And the answer was by Google, if the content on the page is relevant for both keywords, then I don't see an issue. Make sure the content is providing useful information to the user queries, blah, 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 blah. So, of course, if you have something like targeting medical billing software versus flower delivery, that's not going to make sense to target on one single page. But if you're targeting medical billing software and, doctor billing software on the same page, that is probably something that you could target on the same page. And probably something you should target on the same page. So this is interesting. So John Mueller said that Google search algorithms typically do not try to figure out the reading level of that page, which is interesting because Google years ago, I forgot when, probably 3, 4, 5 years ago, actually started showing reading levels or let you filter by reading levels in the search results. So if you're like a professor and you want high-level reading levels about a specific topic, you could filter those queries. That's no longer available. And John Mueller goes about talking about how their algorithms don't try to figure out what the reading levels are, but they used to, but it doesn't necessarily make sense because most people searching for things are not looking for the highest level of reading. They're looking for a common answer for a common specific person, like a general layman or something like that. Anyway, very interesting to look at that, especially if you look at the history about Google's reading level features and so forth. John Mueller posted a PSA, a public service announcement, that if you are using the canonical or redirects to another page, so if I have this page and I'm redirecting it to a different page, the content on this page will probably be ignored or not counted towards the page I'm redirecting it to. So that is obviously important when you're doing things like you have category pages with different types of filters and you're canonicalizing all the filters to the main page. Google's not going to go ahead and pick up the content on those non-canonical versions. So keep that in mind, an SEO topic that most people know. Google Search Console started sending out lots of emails. Mostly people are getting these welcome emails introducing people to the new Google Search Console. Lots of them, lots of people complaining that they're getting them. Can't win. But other things that people are getting recently in the past 24 hours or so is like issue reports. So a new index coverage issue detected, and you can actually fix the index issue by clicking the button. We're validating your fixes and more. Glenn Gabe posted some images as well about different coverage issues and so forth. So people are getting these issue emails from Google Search Console, which we knew Google was going to be sending out, because that's what new Google Search Console is all about. It's helping webmasters actually find and fix and then validate those fixes so they feel comfortable and secure in their SEO webmaster changes. Talking to the Google Search Console team wants to know what you are missing. What reports you are really, really missing that you want to migrate. And there's actually a survey. If you click on the Google Search Console, there's a coming soon button in that navigation, which takes you to the survey asking you fill out their thing and fill out which reports you want. And basically, Google said, again, they haven't finished migrating all the reports. Some of the reports, they find there's better ways to represent that data. But definitely let Google know what you are missing, and that will help Google continue to build a better Google Search Console. Google AdWords added new insights cards to show you impression shifts. So this is what it looks like. You can see, your impression shifts by mobile or by device, so computers, mobile device, tablets, how it's changing over the years, as well as how your impression shifts from above the organic search results to below the search results, and how that's actually impacting your ads and so forth, which is pretty cool. Google My Business now lets restaurants and restaurant-like businesses actually add and edit their own menus directly in the Google Search Console. You no longer have to do it through a third party or through the Google API. And if you do have access, you'll see a little link that says menu, add and edit items, and then when you click on it, it will give you these items here. Google has had the ability to add menus for a while, but only through third parties for the most part. You can manage those links in the Google Search Console, Google My Business Console as well. But they've been showing menu data since 2014, but now they're making it easier for restaurants to control. It's not going to show up for everybody. It depends on if you're a restaurant or not, and it also depends on if it's an English locale or not. Google Bulletin is a new test that Google's launched in Oakland and I believe also in Houston, specifically around testing hyper-local stories and news, where people could actually bring news to their local community from their own devices. Google's not the first to try this, and it'll be interesting to see if Google actually handle this. It's called Google Bulletin. You can definitely take a look at it by just going to Google and searching for Google Bulletin. Google's AMP policies and I guess branding guidelines says they do not want you to say amplify, amped, or amped. They don't want you using those terms. They want you to use it as a noun. So instead of saying the website has amped their pages, you should say the website has AMP pages. Instead of saying make sure your AMPs are discoverable, you can say to create a basic AMP page, include the required HTML. And it's more about a branding thing. It's not like you can't do it, but Google doesn't want you to do that. On the community front, the Google Dance is definitely coming back to Tokyo. They do this for the past few years, I believe, but we're not sure if it's coming back to the Googleplex at XMX West. We're hoping it does. I really felt that was a real strong olive branch. The community really did appreciate it. Their opportunity to go to Google's home, be invited there, eat some food, have fun with some Googlers, talk about their issues was really one of those olive branches that really meant a lot to the SEO community, SEM community, and it was something that we hope that Google brings back specifically to their home at the Googleplex. Talking about Google, Google launched a new Twitter account managed by Danny Sullivan. Here's a look at it. And that is basically about communicating how Google works. Basically about why Google messes up, how they're getting better, why certain things work the way they work. And the first thing they actually talked about was around, I believe, the why does the Google Assistant not answer who is Jesus and stuff like that. And it's very interesting. I think it's a very good use of this Twitter account, and I'm glad Danny Sullivan created it. Talking about Danny Sullivan, I met him last night. I actually gave a talk to a bunch of Google search engineers, both at Google New York, as well as most of them were actually at Mountain View over Google Hangouts, like kind of like a tech talk. And it was basically them asking me questions about the SEO community, understanding the SEO perspective, asking me certain things around different coverage of things that I've done in the past. And there's Danny Sullivan me at one of the, I think, lobbies or reception areas at Google New York City. And it was nice to see him, as well as nice to see the work that he's doing there. I think it's overall very beneficial. In any event, the last thing, obviously, we do on a daily basis is to thank certain personalities and people in our industry and honoring them. So the search community honors Ian Lurie, Melanie Mitchell, Greg Finn, Susan Winograd, and Simon, I can't pronounce the last name, but all these people I've been interacting with for years and years, and I know they mean a lot to most of you guys, and thank you so much for helping the search community grow and be smarter and so forth. In any event, thanks so much for listening to the Search Buzz video recap. Again, today is Friday, February 2nd. Everyone have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys next. Bye.